What's up, Steelers Nation? Welcome back to the channel. And before we get rolling, let's take a second to talk about what this team is really doing right now. The Pittsburgh Steelers are focused on one thing: getting better every single week. From Aaron Rodgers commanding the offense to young defenders stepping up, this team is chasing perfection through preparation. And hey, if you're fired up to see this group fight to bring another Lombardi back to the Steel City, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any of our exclusive news and inside updates. Now, today's story has the fan base buzzing, and it's not about Aaron Rodgers or TJ Watt this time. It's about a player who's been a key piece of the offense for years, but suddenly finds himself at the center of trade rumors. I'm talking about tight end Pat Freiermuth, and multiple teams across the league are reportedly interested in him. That's right. After 4 games into the 2025 season, there's growing speculation that the Steelers could explore moving their former second-round pick, and we've even got whispers about what the potential trade compensation might look like. Let's start with what we know. The Steelers' offense under Aaron Rodgers has been efficient. It's getting the job done, but it hasn't quite exploded yet. Rodgers has provided leadership, composure, and confidence, but there's still a feeling that this unit hasn't fully unlocked its potential. And when you look at the tight end room, it's clear why some eyebrows are being raised. Pittsburgh has 3 legitimate tight ends: Pat Freiermuth, Jonnu Smith, and Darnell Washington. That's a ton of depth for one position, especially when offensive coordinator Arthur Smith likes to mix in heavy personnel and spread sets. But through 4 games, Freiermuth's numbers have dipped dramatically. He ranks 5th on the team in receiving yards and 6th in catches, a stunning drop for a player who's been one of the team's most reliable targets over the past few seasons. In a system built on balance and timing, the fact that Rodgers has only targeted him 10 times this season has fans asking, what's going on? Now here's where things get interesting. During a segment on 93.7 The Fan, an anonymous former NFL general manager claimed that Freiermuth has significant trade value, potentially worth the 3rd or 4th round draft pick if the Steelers decided to move him. The GM said, "I don't know what's going on with Freiermuth. A team would definitely trade for him, like the Commanders or the Rams. I think the Steelers could get a 3rd or 4th for him." That's a bold statement, and while there's been no indication from Mike Tomlin or Omar Khan that Pittsburgh is shopping him, the report reflects what's becoming a growing discussion. Has Pat Freiermuth's role changed so much that a trade might actually make sense? It's the kind of rumor that feels premature, but not impossible. With Jonnu Smith playing a larger role in the passing game and Darnell Washington emerging as a devastating run blocker, the Steelers might eventually decide to use Freiermuth's value to bolster other positions, like cornerback depth or help on the offensive line. Let's rewind for a second. When the Steelers drafted Freiermuth back in the 2nd round of the 2021 NFL Draft, fans were thrilled. He was viewed as the next great Pittsburgh tight end, tough, dependable, and with great hands in the red zone. That rookie season alongside Ben Roethlisberger gave us glimpses of what he could become: 79 targets, 60 receptions, and 7 touchdowns. It looked like Pittsburgh had found their long-term answer at tight end. Fast forward to 2024, Freiermuth delivered another solid year, recording 65 catches for 653 yards and 7 touchdowns. But in 2025, something's changed. Through the first 4 games, he's sitting at just 7 catches for 65 yards and no touchdowns. The biggest red flag? He's barely being targeted. 10 total targets through 4 weeks. For context, that's about half of what he averaged at this point last season. Now, to be fair, it's not entirely his fault. There have been a few drops, yes, but the offensive scheme hasn't funneled the ball his way. With Rodgers focusing on timing routes to DK Metcalf and Calvin Austin in space, plus Jaylen Warren getting more work in the passing game, Freiermuth's role has shifted to more of a complementary piece. So where do we go from here? Right now, all signs point to the Steelers keeping Freiermuth, at least for now. He's still one of the more talented tight ends in the league, and his chemistry with Rodgers could develop as the season goes along. But make no mistake, if the offense doesn't start utilizing him more, and if teams continue calling with interest, the conversation could get real by the trade deadline. And here's the reality: Omar Khan is not afraid to make bold moves. He's shown that already with deals like the Jalen Ramsey trade earlier this year. If the front office believes moving Freiermuth could land them a quality draft pick or immediate contributor, they'll at least pick up the phone. While all this talk surrounds Freiermuth, one guy who's earning his spotlight is Keanu Benton. The second-year defensive tackle came alive in Week 4 against the Vikings, totaling 4 tackles, 1.5 sacks, and a tackle for loss in what coaches called his breakout game. Defensive coordinator Tara Austin praised his worth, saying, "We've always seen he's had that ability to be disruptive inside. It's one of those things where he finished his plays in Week 4, and I told him, let's start stacking those." That's exactly what Pittsburgh needs. Benton flashed as a rookie, but the 2024 season was inconsistent. Now, after a strong performance in Dublin, the Steelers want to see him build momentum, especially with rookie defensive lineman Derek Harmon adding competition and depth. If Benton continues this upward trend, Pittsburgh's defensive line could become downright scary. Pairing him with Cameron Hayward, TJ Watt, and Alex Highsmith creates one of the most complete fronts in the league. All this sets the stage for what's next, a massive Week 6 matchup against the Browns at Acrisure Stadium. The Browns are coming off a close 21-17 loss to the Vikings in London, but their rookie duo, quarterback Gabriel Allen and running back Quinshon Judkins, showed some real promise. Judkins rushed for over 100 yards, and Cleveland's ground game as a whole topped 140. That means Benton, Hayward, and company will have their hands full. The Pittsburgh's biggest weakness early this season has been stopping the run, and this will be the perfect chance to prove that Week 4 wasn't a fluke. If the defensive front can dominate again, and if the offense finds a rhythm involving Freiermuth, Warren, and Metcalf, Pittsburgh could build serious momentum heading into the heart of their schedule. The Steelers finally showed a little life offensively in Week 4 when they beat the Minnesota Vikings in Dublin. They actually moved the ball consistently for the first time all season. But even with that progress, this offense still leaves fans with more questions than answers. Yes, Aaron Rodgers has brought veteran stability and leadership. Yes, the line has improved, but the truth is this offense has yet to reach its full potential.
And part of that might come down to the personnel decisions that have been made since Arthur Smith's arrival. Let's break this down name by name, because when you look at the track record, it's hard not to see a pattern here. First off, Cordero Patterson, a player Smith worked with in Atlanta and clearly trusted. Patterson was brought in to be that hybrid threat, part running back, part return man, part Swiss Army knife. The problem? Injuries hit early. Patterson went down in Week 4 last season, and that basically ended his impact in Pittsburgh. Even before the injury, though, his special teams play wasn't where it needed to be. By the start of 2025 training camp, the Steelers had seen enough. Patterson was released. Then you've got Van Jefferson, another one of Arthur Smith's favorites from his Falcons days. When Jefferson arrived, fans were cautiously optimistic. The Steelers needed help at wide receiver, especially after the George Pickens trade rumors started swirling. Jefferson looked like a potential answer, someone who could bring experience and route-running reliability. But the results? 24 catches across 17 games. Not bad, but far from what the Steelers needed from a starting wideout. Pittsburgh let his contract expire, and now Jefferson is riding the bench in Tennessee. And then we get to Jonnu Smith, the player Arthur Smith has chased his entire career. Drafted by Tennessee, coached in Atlanta, and now traded for again in Pittsburgh. If anyone represents Arthur Smith's offensive vision, it's Jonnu. But here's the thing, the Steelers aren't really using him. Jonnu Smith entered 2025 listed as a co-starter at tight end next to Pat Freiermuth, but by Week 4, his role had already shrunk dramatically. He was barely on the field in the Dublin game, and when he was, the offense rarely looked his way. Why? Because the Steelers' offensive identity under Arthur Smith has been run-heavy, physical, and blocking first, and that's not Jonnu Smith's game. He's not a dominant blocker. He's a move tight end, a mismatch weapon in space, and a red zone threat. Yet Pittsburgh has practically abandoned the middle of the field this season. It's almost ironic. Smith finally gets all the players he wants, Patterson, Jefferson, and Jonnu, but the offense isn't built to use them effectively. So that brings us to a tough question. Is the problem the players or the scheme? Now, Steelers fans know Omar Khan as the Cap Wizard, a GM who's been aggressive, creative, and fearless since taking over. From locking up TJ Watt to pulling off blockbuster trades, Khan has proven he's not afraid to take risks. But in this case, it seems like he's put a lot of trust in Arthur Smith to shape the offense his way. And according to Ray Fittipaldo, Khan hasn't pushed back on those requests at all. That's both a sign of respect and a gamble, because when you give a coordinator full control over his personnel choices, you're also tying your team's offensive success directly to his system working. So far, the results have been mixed at best. Yes, the Steelers are competitive. Yes, Rodgers has stabilized things, but this offense still lacks rhythm and identity. The players Smith asked for aren't producing, and the stars, like Pat Freiermuth, Jaylen Warren, and George Pickens, still feel underused. Here's what makes this story so fascinating. It's not just about who's catching the football. It's about philosophy. Arthur Smith has always been a believer in old-school football, power runs, tight ends, ball control, and clock management. And that works when you have Derrick Henry and an elite line like he did in Tennessee. But in Pittsburgh, where the team has built a more balanced roster with explosive skill players, that system hasn't quite clicked yet. The question now becomes, how long will Omar Khan let Arthur Smith build his version of this offense before stepping in and making adjustments? Because Steelers fans know what winning football looks like. It's balanced, it's creative, it's adaptable. Right now, it feels like Pittsburgh is forcing pieces into a system that doesn't fully fit them. So, Steelers Nation, here's the big question. Should the Steelers even consider trading Pat Freiermuth, or is this just overreaction talk after a quiet start to the year? It's a fascinating situation. Freiermuth still has plenty of talent and leadership value, but in a loaded offense with limited targets, it's fair to wonder if a fresh start might benefit both sides. At the same time, Pittsburgh knows the season is long, and Rodgers loves to rely on tight ends in clutch moments. Don't be surprised if Freiermuth's involvement spikes later in the year, especially once defenses start keying in on Metcalf. But I want to hear from you. Should Omar Khan listen if teams like the Commanders or Rams come calling? Or should the Steelers keep Freiermuth and find a way to feature him more? Drop your opinions in the comments. I'll be reading every single one. And before you go, if you love passionate Steelers coverage, exclusive reports, and the best community in football, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another update. The Steelers are just getting started, and as always, here we go Steelers!